Hey guys, Blake Show, Jason McKee here for the Buck Bomb. Today we got some really exciting news on one of our new product launches, XTRUS, as well as a contest launch that we're going to explain to you guys a little bit later. So, one of the things we want to talk about is, what is XTRUS and why is it better, and should you pay more for it? So Jason and I were up on the farm where all this urine is collected, all the natural urines for Buck Bomb, whether it's in a 4-ounce squeeze bottle or one of our bombs that we sell. So, Jason, why don't you talk about a little bit last week what we learned up on the farm?
Well, what was interesting for me, as a guy who hasn't really used a tracted sense much for hunting purposes, I have used them. Being from Illinois, we can't use bait. So I've been using mock scrapes for several years now to try to get deer in front of my cameras to do my whole buck inventory. So I have used urines specifically for mock scrapes. What was interesting being up there last week was we were getting information from Dr. Rachel Weiss, who has spent the past 10 years doing nothing but focusing on the reproductive biology of deer and cervids. So some of the things she said really was eye-opening for me, and specifically in regards to XTRUS. What was eye-opening was the fact that she made it very clear that they've tested a lot of the urines on the market, and there was no measurable estrogen that they could find in those tests. Whereas with XTRUS, every batch is being tested, and the lab is able to verify down to the picograms per milliliter that there is estrogen in each batch of this. So,
right.
So when you consider how deer communicate, or how deer kind of keep tabs on their surrounding and the other deer in their core areas, obviously hormones come into play when it comes in the rut. So the fact that you have a confirmed and verified hormone in this urine, that's what the deer are seeking at that time of the year, to me it was pretty eye-opening that it could very well be a difference maker.
It really was. So you ask, well, how do they know that there's certified, or that there's estrogen in the certified urines? And what are they doing to make sure that they collect it at the highest peak, and what's everybody else doing that they're not getting the estrogen in it? And so what's going on with the XTRUS certified urine is that they have a proprietary process for each doe that they basically can get them at their peak heat cycle to make sure that they're getting the most estrogen in it. Where what the other manufacturers are doing for their doe and estrus is they call it a 21-day standing estrus, and what they're doing is saying, yep, it could be right at the beginning of that cycle, or it could be towards the end of the cycle, or it could be in the peak. But also what they're doing is batching all that urine together, so you may have one very high one, but you may have 10 really low ones, and that's all getting saturated out, and which leads to why you're not getting measurable amounts of estrogen in those bottles that you're getting.
Yeah, we actually have an interview that we'll be putting up within the next week with Dr. Weiss, where she'll do a lot better job of explaining the biology behind all this. But one of the things she pointed out was that as these does cycle, I guess the best way to describe it is they will have dry cycles where they may be cycling into estrus, but there's only a specific period of time where she's going to release actual estrogen hormones in her urine. So even in a natural setting, a deer may start her cycle, and it may be X number of days before she ever hits that peak period where her body is actually excreting those estrogen hormones.
Yeah.
So really, what they've done is they by her background in that deer biology and how their body actually works and functions within their natural cycles, what they've been able to do is really pinpoint that period of time where it's like, okay, we can confirm that we are hitting that peak point. So if you're taking urine from 5 days, as you said, 4 of those days may be dry,
right? And
one of those days might actually have the hormones in it that are actually what the bucks are keying on that time of the year to find a receptive doe. And so when you sample those, even if it's only 5 days together, you've just watered that down. That's why they've had a hard time when they're testing various urines on that are out there. That's why they're not finding those measurable estrogen levels, versus this, where they've got it down to now a process where they can pinpoint exactly that time frame of when those does are going to actually produce the hormone. And that's really the biggest difference with Estrus is it's XTRUS. It's being tested, lab tested. Each batch goes out to an independent lab. They run their test. They send back the exact amount of estrogen metabolites in picograms per milliliter, and they are guaranteeing, essentially certifying that there will be at minimum, I believe it was between 30 and 50 picograms of estrogen, per milliliter. So
that's the thing.
It's not guesswork. I mean, they've really taken the guesswork out of giving you a true estrus, peak estrus, scent.
And granted, they have this whole herd that they're collecting from, and it's not just they're certifying one deer, one batch. Everything that goes out from the farm that's certified gets tested and is proven. So again, it's not, we think the whole herd should be in because we treated them all the same way. They make sure that every bit of urine that goes into the bombs is certified.
So guys, is there a certain way you want to use this product, or do you want to use it? Can you use it only during peak rut, or can you use it pre-rut and post-rut to try and kick things off or keep things fired up?
Well, again, I mean, so again, we're gonna post the interview with Dr. Weiss, but it was another one of those. I learned a lot by being there, and it made sense for. I mean, what I would say based upon what the discussions we ever heard, I'm gonna start using this probably early mid October in my mock scrapes, because she made a point that actually made sense. It's like there's a synchronization between the bucks and the does. So the bucks' testosterone levels are naturally rising at that time, and then the does are going to cycle in.
So they're kind of just waiting on the doe.
They both affect each other.
Exactly. So there's a synergy there. As those first does start coming into heat, that kicks up the the intensity and the activity as far as those bucks seeking out those first hot does. So my theory, at least, and I'll test it out with my mock scrapes this year, is if I start putting this out early to mid-October, hopefully that gets, we've all heard of the October lull, where the bucks are charged up, they're ready to go, but they they're not getting those keys out in nature that, hey, there's some hot does out there, I need to get on my feet. So they're kind of hanging back and waiting for quote unquote prime time. Hopefully, because with this containing actual estrogen, which is what they're looking for and they're keen for during the rut, the idea is hopefully I can start getting those bucks, kind of charged up a little bit earlier, and get them in front of my cameras and getting a little better inventory going into the hunting season.
And in turn, you could hold the buck in your area because he thinks, there's a hot doe around.
Right. I mean, we've all seen it with an actual hot doe. She comes through, and next thing you know, you've got a parade of bucks coming in. I mean, in a hunting situation, yes. Again, since the hormone that they're actually keying on when they're out, doing their seeking phase,
is
since
guaranteed.
this contains the estrogen. Yeah. I mean, in theory, you would think, if a buck comes through there, he's going to want to stick around. He's going to think, hey, there's a doe in here somewhere. It's just his job to find her.
Yep. So, and a lot of this too is this is the first time this is out on the market. So there's a lot to be known yet. But from what we've used and what they've used on the farm and what they've seen, their recommendations from the farm right now is 4 weeks prior to peak rut and 4 weeks after peak rut. So really, this will extend that rut area. Either extend it or get it kickstarted, like Jason said, and get that testosterone going.
And they did some tests, I believe it was last year, with XTRUS on the farm, and it was interesting there where they said actually the peak of the buck activity as far as coming to their test sites was actually after the peak of the rut. It was like those bucks were looking for those last few does.
Right.
The major breeding period was over, but those bucks were still keying on that scent, thinking,
so they're having to move more.
There's a late doe out there.
So find that doe.
The idea of keeping bucks active for a little bit, keeping that rut kind of extended, keeping those bucks on their feet for maybe an extra week, even if it's an extra week, could very well improve your odds out there. What I'm going to be interested in is, again, to me, the ideal time to use this is going to be that pre-rut, that 2 or 3 weeks before you know for a fact. I mean, traditionally in Illinois, that week of Veterans Day, and that I always take the week of Veterans Day off because that's always been one of my best weeks ever hunting in Illinois in the Midwest. And it seems like that week of Thanksgiving is always really good for seeing bucks on their feet chasing. To me, either side of those 2 weeks for a couple weeks is really when I would think this would make the most difference, because there shouldn't be a lot of actual does naturally out there in heat. But again, that's what those bucks are waiting and keying on, is when they start smelling they start smelling that first truly hot doe, and that's essentially what this is going to mimic.
Well, and that's where I want to see it, is you mentioned that week of Thanksgiving. That's my favorite time to get out there. And I think the bucks are active, but I don't know if they're actually actively chasing hot does anymore, but they're preparing for that winter, in the Midwest and Iowa and Minnesota. So hopefully this will help extend that
Yeah, I
when
mean,
those guys are chasing out and moving, actually looking for does.
The reality of it is, I mean, I've watched my mock scrapes. I mean, I pretty much run cameras over my mock scrapes all year, and I've seen it happen where I get a 2 to 3 window where literally I'll get, you know, a dozen different deer coming to a mock scrape, and then bam, you know, it'd be 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2. Well, obviously the real thing is out there, you know, so they're, you know, they're not having a hard time finding, you know, hot does, so they're locked down, or you know, they're on the trail of a doe. At that point,
So you think before the does are hot, it could give you the edge?
Yeah, I think before you actually start seeing that breeding, that lockdown phase, I think that's when, you know, this could be an advantage for you. And following that, you know, again, those bucks are looking for any late does, any unbred does. So I think it'll be interesting, since this will be the first year that it's really been out there, you know, to get feedback from hunters as, you know, how they're seeing it work. I will say this: I went up the first week of October to the farm I hunted in Illinois, and I set up 2 brand new mock scrapes, and I sprayed a can each of XTRUS in each of those mock scrapes. And I will tell you, within the first week, we got 2 bucks on camera in those 2 mock scrapes. Now, we run about 25 cameras on that farm, and we had not had a single picture all summer, or prior to that point, we did not have a single picture of either of those 2 bucks, both mature bucks. And the second one I actually ended up shooting in November.
Wow.
And the first time I saw him, he was within 60 yards of that mock scrape. So, I have no scientific evidence saying that this is the whole reason that they showed up at those 2 specific cameras, but I can say that they hadn't showed up.
They weren't there before, and they hung around the area.
Yep, exactly.
Another testament, almost exactly like that, is one of our colleagues went out, sprayed this in front of his camera in August, and 25 minutes after he sprayed it, had 2 bucks on the camera. So,
yeah,
whether it's coincidence of them guys passing through or what, but you know what, something drew them in, and they were curious at that point,
So
as early as August.
If you do the math, and again, it'll make a lot more sense whenever we get the interview with Dr. Weiss, you know, posted. But if you do the math, we all know deer live and die by their nose. Whether it's finding food, whether it's you know, being alerted to, you know, possible dangers. I mean, their nose is far and away probably their single greatest, you know, survival instinct. So they use it to find food. They use it, you know, to detect danger. They use it obviously to, you know, keep tabs on one another. So you do the math. You've got a creature that lives and dies, you know, and survives by its sense of smell, and then you do the math with the deer's biology and what keys those bucks into. Okay, 5 does are standing in front of him. One of them is hot. How does he know which one of those is hot? And how does he know that that's the one, you know, that's the one he's going to chase, that's the one he's going to lock down? Well, according to the biology, it's due to the estrogen. When she starts secreting that estrogen, that's the light switch. So you do the math, and it would make sense that, you know, putting a scent out there that actually contains estrogen should, in theory, you know, bring you some sort of advantage. You should see some sort of difference.
Absolutely. So, you know, the Buck Bomb pages, every week we're going to do a Facebook Live. You know, our hopes is, the plan is we're going to do it on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time from this point on. And, you know, we got a lot of things that we're going to hammer out, and XTRUS is going to keep coming up over and over again. The other thing that we're going to kind of explain over and over again is, Tony, if you want to zoom in, is this icon system. So
yeah,
all of the Buck Bomb items are going to have similar icons on the packaging, right? And this is going to tell you when the best time to use that specific product is. You know, and so the point of the next coming weeks is we're going to run through all of the Buck Bomb products, you know, explaining when to use it, when to set it up, you know, if you're using mock scrapes or pre-rut or cover scents and things like that, and, you know, just give you guys an overview of what the Buck Bomb products were intended for and how to use them. With that, we mentioned the contest, right?
Yeah, the Bragging Bones.
Bragging Board.
Bragging Board, sorry.
So we've got the contest. We launched it last week, the Bragging Board. You know, post your trail camera pictures out there now, whether you're using Deer Domination or Ground and Pound, Wicked Lick, some of the stuff we launched last year. You know, while you're starting to get inventory of your deer on the farm and your leases and things like that, show us what's growing out there. Get some pictures in velvet when they start, you know, rubbing that velvet off. We want to see that, and every week we're going to pick a winner.
I mean, let's face it. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of in that lull myself, where it's like, I know deer season's right around the corner. I'm getting my bow set up. I'm just ordered some new camo. but the season seems so far away, and that's really where, you know, looking at trail camera pictures, you know, kind of
gets everybody
kind of
amped
helps
up.
get you through. Exactly.
Yep. And
so,
you have more time to try and find the deer too, and what deer you want to
right.
target.
So the weekly winner is going to get their choice of either one of our feed attractants or a scent attractant. In the coming weeks, we're going to be going over the food attractants first, and I mean, obviously, you know, could help with, you know, getting those bucks in front of your trail cameras. We're also going to do a week where we're going to go over specifically mock scrapes. Like I said, I've had some phenomenal results running mock scrapes in Illinois where we can't bait, we can't put out any mineral or feed. So we're going to kind of go over those over the next couple weeks, and while we're running the trail camera contest, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a weekly winner, and then at the end we're going to pick the top five trail camera photos, and then that last week we're going to give the viewers a chance to vote on their favorite out of those five, and then we're going to have a grand prize winner at the end of the season, and we're going to have a really nice prize pack for the grand prize winner. And then, of course, obviously coming up, the big one, which I'm looking forward to, is the XTRUS rut report, where we're gonna kick that thing off in October, and that's going to be basically a chance for, I mean, I do it, you know, especially now that I live in Georgia, but I still hunt in Illinois. I'm constantly talking to my buddies around the country. It's like, hey, you know, what sign are you seeing? You know, what are the bucks doing in your neighborhood? And I'm constantly calling and bugging my buddies back in Illinois right before my hunt. You know, hey, are they moving? Are you seeing them? Are they chasing? You know, what are they doing? So the rut report is really about, you know, just, again, hunters helping hunters. You know, hey, what are you seeing in your area? You know, are you starting to see scrapes? Are you starting to see some rub lines? You know, so that's gonna kick off in October, and the grand prize for that, which we will announce the first week of the rut report.
It's gonna put everything else to shame.
Yeah, it's a big deal. If you like to hunt, you're gonna like the grand prize.
Yeah, you're gonna want to tune in up to that, because it's gonna be hard for us not to let it slip on
Yeah.
what's coming in the next 6-7 weeks. But we're gonna do our best, you know, to keep you guys coming back. But it's gonna be tough not to let it slip. But you know, at the very least, like you said, you know, share the posts, share the videos. We're gonna go over a lot of different systems that Buck Bomb offers and what the benefits are and when to use them. And it's going to be a good summer. We're hoping to get you guys as amped up for deer season.
Tony, do we have a winner for this week?
Yes, sir. This week on the bragging board was Justin Bowman.
Justin Bowman. All right. Well, Justin, congratulations. Shoot us a message on Facebook. We can't reach out to you, so reach out to us. We'll get your address and everything. And
so you're going to get choice of a Buck Bomb hat, as well as choice of a bag of deer domination, or one of our 4-ounce urines and a detonator.
Correct. So yeah, so that's basically that'd be a good starter for somebody to set up a mock scrape and get a camera over. You know, either pour out some food if you're in a state where you can use baits or minerals. If you can't, you're in a state like Illinois where you can't use baits or minerals. We're going to give you a detonator and
some
a
dominant
liquid
buck, or
yeah.
you know, one of those that
get you some scent attractant out there where maybe you can start a mock scrape and get a camera over that. So
you know, and really, whatever, even if you don't get the activity you want around a mock scrape or something like that, you're gonna get some sort of activity, and you're gonna learn from it. You're gonna learn what urines not to use or when to use certain ones.
I can tell you from first-hand experience. I mean, like I said, I've been running them for 6-7 years now, and I mean, there's cameras I've left out all year round, and once I got that mock scrape established and the deer started, I mean, I've gotten upwards of 25 different bucks hitting one mock scrape with, you know, between mid-October and end of November, and I've literally gone out there in the spring, well after deer season, to pull my cameras, and had pictures of deer coming up. You know, no, they're not working the scrape, but they're coming up there smelling the licking branch. You know, in April and May. I mean, so mock scrapes. To me, baiting, you know, put out some mineral or some feed attractant is great. I mean, you're going to get deer in front of it, but that mock scrape, those mock scrapes, frankly, I think tell you more.
It conditions them.
Yeah, it really does. And to this day, I mean, I've got some scrapes that I've been running for 5 or 6 years now, and I literally don't have to touch them anymore. Right. You know, there's so much natural scent on them. Those deer are coming back to those same mock scrapes year after year after year.
That's right.
So, like I said, we'll do 1 week. I think it's in 2 weeks from now. We'll do a specific live on kind of how I go about setting up mock scrapes, and see if we can't, you know, get some guys started on that, help them out with that. But yeah, the weekly prize is really going to be about, you know, giving you something to maybe get one of those mock scrapes or a camera site set up, and hopefully get some future bragging board material going up.
Yep. So, I mean, if there's not any questions coming through right now, you know, tune back in Thursday nights, as well as, you know, look for XTRUS on the shelves. And, you know, Jason, like you said, he's going to post that interview with Dr. Rachel soon, and, you know, that could pique some questions coming up, whether it's the farm, our other urines, or extra specifically in the process there, shoot us those questions, and we're happy to tell you why this is certified as the best urine out there you can get.
All right, we got any questions? Nope. All right.
All right, appreciate everybody joining in.
Until next week.
We'll see you later.